Volca Drum was the first Volca I got, and it's what started my journey into the money pit that is synths and music gear. I was looking for an affordable small drum machine that I could use for my songs when performing live, especially on my streams, and that's when I stumbled over the Volca line. I was also looking at the Volca Beat and the Volca Kick, but in the end this seemed like the best unit for my own needs. So my boyfriend ended up picking one up for me, so thank you, babe. Thank you. Smooch. This will be sort of an opinion piece or mini review, where I will talk about some of the basics and, of course, give my own thoughts and feelings. It comes with 10 different pre-made kits, and each kit has 6 different sounds. Several of the kits are pretty usable out of the gate with some typical drum sounds. So while some other kits are more avant-garde, let's say, some more atypical drum sounds, if they can even be called drum sounds. You can store up to 16 kits, meaning that you can create and store 6 additional presets of sounds, or you can of course override to the factory presets. You can also create and store 16 different patterns that each have 16 steps. The Volca Drum also has a randomizer function, which randomizes the sound, creating something entirely new and, of course, random. It's maybe not a great tool for getting usable standard drum sounds, but it is great for getting some hicking weird sounds. And I use this function a lot when I'm pairing it up with an effects unit to create some unusual improvised soundscapes. And you can of course create drum patterns. We're restricted to 16 steps, but you can also chain patterns together. You can also randomize a pattern, so a sound will play on randomized steps. Now I'm going to try to randomize it. Let's try randomizing this as well. And randomize. And we got some pretty interesting sounds out of the gate, really. Ready to have a party. I've owned the Volca Drum for a couple of years now, and I have to admit that I still have no idea how I'd go about creating a sound from scratch. It is pretty complicated and there is a lot to explore and experiment with on this unit. But even without going in too deep, you can create some pretty interesting and usable stuff. You can get pretty far just using one of the pre-made kits and some of the basic features. One I use a lot is Slice, where you can sort of make a sound play quickly several times on one step. There's also accent, which basically makes a step louder. Then there's pitch, where you can, of course, make a sound lower or deeper. And you can set the pitch different for each step. Then there's a bit crunch, where you can make the sound kind of crunchier. And another neat randomizer type function is probability, where you can set the likelihood of a sound playing on a certain step. For example, if you set the probability to 40, there's a 40% chance that the sound will play and a 60% chance that it won't. So that's a fun way to add some variation to a pattern, making it sound less sterile, less monotone, adding some probability to it. Now, the biggest con with the Volca drum for me is that there is no way to import and export patterns and kits, at least not natively to the unit. So if I come up with something neat that I want to save and use for the future, but I want to create new music and I'm running out of slots, I basically have to prioritize. So that's not ideal if you want to use it for recording and performing beyond just improvised one-off jams. And as I briefly said, creating sounds is also pretty complicated. I have no idea how to go about creating a simple kick drum or a hi-hat. I'm sure I eventually could maybe figure it out, maybe one day I actually will. But all the knobs and submenus can be pretty daunting when you're not used to synths or more complicated gear, and you maybe don't know much music theory or jargon. So it would have been nice if maybe it was a bit more beginner friendly. So far there are a lot of knobs here that I'm kind of staying away from for now, but I look forward to one day jumping into all the menus and all the options here. I'll try to tackle one knob at a time. But you really don't need to go super deep to get a lot out of this device. And it's great that you can use it both as a more standard drum machine and as a more experimental electronic noisemaker. But I'm not a professional synth person. There are many more people out there more knowledgeable than me. So if you are considering whether or not to get this unit for yourself, I highly recommend seeking out multiple videos, reading forum posts and reviews, basically doing some research before finalizing your decision. Thank you for watching, and until next time, synth on. That's my catchphrase. Maybe it should be jam on instead. Until next time, jam on. Thank you so much to the Patreon supporters, always much appreciated. Remember to subscribe, like, leave a comment, do all the engagement type stuff. If you feel like it, of course. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to. It's okay. It is okay.